We've been talking for the last couple of weeks about which teams have won the offseason, which teams have had the best offseason, but I think we've been, kind of missing the key team here, and that is the Phoenix Suns, who went out, they've made the biggest splash out of any team this offseason. I think we can say that. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. This is a big three in Phoenix that we've seen KD team up with before. Just a lot of scores, but this time they have one of the best defensive-minded head coaches in the NBA, Frank Vogel, who normally has a top 5 defense in the NBA anchoring the way. And then they also went out and made some good veteran free agent signings. Eric Gordon, Drew Eubanks, Yuta Watanabe, among others. So before we get started here, we're going to be talking all about the Phoenix Suns, how good their offseason has been. Make sure to the like button. Let's try to get like 200 likes on today's video. Also leave me a comment. And about 97% of my audience is not subscribed, so if you're one of that 97%, which it's highly likely you are, just go hit that subscribe button. It only takes a second out of your time. And we got a TikTok account now, so go check that out. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started looking at the huge moves that the Phoenix Suns have made this offseason, starting with the Bradley Beal trade to pair him up with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. A lot of people have been on the free Bradley Beal train for a while now, and probably for good reason. He's been kind of trapped in Washington ever since John Wall got hurt. This year he put up about 23 points a game, 5.4 assists, 3.9 rebounds. Wasn't really a vintage Bradley Beal season. Just a couple of years ago he was averaging 30, challenging for that scoring title, but he was still as efficient as normal. 51% from the field, 37% from 3, also averaged a steal per game. But the thing I want you to look at there is the assist numbers. He is a guy that can still facilitate the rock. This is a team that really doesn't have a true starting point guard, but the 30-year-old Bradley Beal in 34 minutes per game last year averaged 5.5 assists, so that is promising. Again, the big question for this big three is who is playing the point guard spot. There's not really a facilitator to dish it out to all of these guys, but I think it's no doubt a championship contender. That's why you have to say the Phoenix Suns were one of the big winners of this offseason, because they, with one single trade, turned themselves into championship contenders, and then they went out and brought in veteran pieces that is just going to make this team even better and take them to the next level. Bradley Beal, heck of a job done by the Phoenix Suns front office, even though they're going to be like $87 million into the luxury tax. Now, they are currently projected to be the front runners to sign Bol Bol. It's kind of league-wide, kind of expected for them to bring in Bol Bol, and that's great for Bol Bol. Win-win for both sides. He gets to come in, add depth for them, and he gets to be mentored by Kevin Durant. He averaged 9.1 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 1 assist last year for the Orlando Magic. And if you don't know who Bol Bol is, he's a 7'2", almost demigod, kind of like Victor Wembanyama. He shot at 54% from the field, only 27% from 3, and only 1.2 blocks. Actually was somewhat disappointing in the rim protection category for the Magic last year, but that, somewhere where he can improve. And he did fall off towards the end of the year, which was very disappointing in my opinion. I thought, he was going to be a cornerstone piece for that Magic team for a while. Turns out he was not. He flamed out very quickly. But the roster overhaul is real in Phoenix. They brought in a couple of snipers this offseason to play off of their stars, starting with Yuta Watanabe. He averaged about 5.6 points and 2.4 rebounds last year for the Brooklyn Nets. He actually led the NBA in three-point percentage for a good while there before he kind of fell back down to earth, but he still shot at 45% from 3 on about 2.5 attempts per game, 49% from the field overall, and he brings you good length. That's one thing the Suns went out and got a lot of, was length, athleticism, which I imagine is what Frank Vogel wanted to build up that defense. Yuta, about 6'9", and he played in about 16 minutes per game last year. And then you got Eric Gordon, who averaged 11 points per game and 2.1 rebounds. Gordon, not quite the defender he once was going into his age 35 season, but he shot at 46% from the field and 42% from 3 last year on the Clippers, where, he was asked to be that older, rotational piece that can knock down the 3 ball in 25 minutes a game. But again, you're going to be 35 next year, so we'll see how his body holds up. Now, like I said, bringing in Frank Vogel, he's going to bring with him that elite defense that he's had on multiple teams before. So he's going to bring in that length. We're going to call him Metu. I do not know how to say his first name. Anyways, he averaged about 5 points per game and 3 rebounds. I know, I'm a casual, whatever. He shot at 59% from the field. Is 6'10", coming in from the Sacramento Kings, is going to give them very good front court depth. And then Keita Bates-Diop coming over from the Spurs, King of the Fourth Quarter channel legend, if you know, you know. 10 points per game, 4 rebounds for the Spurs last year. Actually had a much better season than I thought he did. And he shot at 51% from the field, 39% from 3. Very underrated signing here from the Phoenix Suns. He's also about 6'8" and can play a little defense. And then Drew Eubanks, 6.6 points, 5.4 rebounds. Another guy coming over from the Portland Trailblazers. He did that in very few minutes last year. Very efficient with his minutes, very good production, 64% from the field, 1.3 blocks per game. The Suns did such a great job this offseason going out and getting talent. And then a couple of underrated guys here. First, with Jordan Goodwin, who coming over in the Bradley Beal trade, 6.6 points and 3.3 rebounds in 17 minutes last year for the Wizards. I believe he's a third-year man out of St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken, maybe fourth. He's going to be a guy that's going to get some minutes this year, and he's going to be good. And then Tuima, I don't know how to say his first name. Anyways, he averaged 14 points, 8 rebounds on very good shooting splits, and just dropped 20 and 8 in the summer league. I think he might get some minutes this year. We'll see, though, how it goes. Was drafted in the second round this year out of Dayton. Now, a guy that I think is flying under the radar more than he should be. This is a guy that I think is going to take a leap this year, and that is Devin Booker. I think he's going to take over as the head guy in Phoenix from Kevin Durant. Last year in the playoffs, put up 34 points, 7.2 assists, 1.7 steals. I know he's still considered the face of the franchise, but a lot of NBA fans are saying KD is still better than Book, but he put up those numbers on 59% shooting from the field, 51% from 3 in 11 games. That is outrageous. You talk about Jamal Murray being a guy that rises up in the playoffs, Jimmy Butler, Devin Booker rose up in the playoffs last year, and it's not being talked about enough. So I'm trying to bring him some light here for his playoff run last year. Now let's take a look at the starting lineups for next year. We got D-Book, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton. Those 4 are for sure. And then that 5th guy is kind of up for debate. I wasn't really too sure to put there. I put in Yuta Watanabe. Maybe you go Keita Bates-Diop, but Watanabe can really shoot the 3-ball. 6'8" long, provides a defensive presence. The big problem here with this starting lineup is point guard. They don't have a guy that's going to facilitate like a Chris Paul could do. However, D-Book, Bradley Beal, they both average. D-Book in the playoffs last year averaged about 7 assists per game. Bradley Beal averaged about 5.5 last year in the regular season. Of course, Wizards don't make the playoffs. But I think between the two of them, it'll be all right. You got some of the best scorers on the planet. Between those top 4 guys, they're probably going to have to combine to average like 100 points a game. But they can definitely do it. We're talking about 3 of the best scorers in the NBA. Then coming off the bench, Cam Payne, Eric Gordon. Very good backcourt off the bench. I take back my previous statement. That starting lineup doesn't have to average that much because they've got an elite backcourt off the bench. You talk about Cam Payne, one of the better backup point guards in the NBA, and Eric Gordon, one of the better veteran shooting guards in the NBA. Then Keita Bates-Diop, super underrated player coming over from the San Antonio Spurs. You got a guy in Bol Bol who they're expected to sign, could be the backup power forward, and learning from KD, you never know. His ceiling is insane if you start putting him in the same training workouts as KD. And then Drew Eubanks, who's been a very solid backup center for a couple of years now. A couple of former Spurs here off the bench in Phoenix. And it's looking good. I'm really liking what this Phoenix Suns team is bringing to the table. Are they beating the Denver Nuggets? I don't know. Last year the Nuggets had the edge because of their depth. Now, if you're talking starting lineups, I'm still going to have to give the edge to the Denver Nuggets. However, this year, depth is going to have to go to the Phoenix Suns, and I think that the Suns have a really, really good chance to come out of the East come out of the Western Conference. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Like I said earlier, make sure to hit the like button. We'll see if we can hit 200 likes on today's video. That'd be great. Also hit the subscribe button if you did enjoy today's video at any point. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video.